All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, a little bit of a different video. We're going to talk about WNBA free agency. Yes, it is still going on. There are still roster spots available. There is still money on the table, but I want to talk about one player in particular, a very polarizing player at this point, and a very, we'll say, conversation heavy player that the conversation around her has been very interesting over the last, I guess, month at this point. Natasha Cloud, former Washington Mystic, former Phoenix Mercury, former uh, New York Liberty player, and now just basketball free agent. She has no home, and I want to talk about it. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have an opinion, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. This is going to be a very heavily opinion-based video. I do have some facts, I guess we could call them. Some facts, I guess. Um, Let me set the stage. So Natasha Cloud, very accomplished WNBA player. I should actually pull up her basketball reference while I'm doing this. WNBA champ. Um, what used to be, I won't say used to be. I want to try to be nice to Natasha Cloud. We used to be a very highly active defensive player. Um, Not a lot of accolades outside of that. 3-time All Defensive, 2019 WNBA champ with the Washington Mystics, and 2022 assist champ and 2019 Dawn Staley Award winner. She is, how old is she? 34 years. Damn, 34. Sheesh. 34 years old. And she is without a job. And my thought process about Natasha Cloud over the last calendar year, 2025, into this year, when she was in New York. New York was her last stop as a WNBA player last year. I particularly, as somebody who's been watching the New York Liberty for a very long time, and I've watched Sabrina Ionescu for a very long time, and I've been a WNBA fan for a very long time. I watched Natasha Cloud win that championship in 2019 with Elena Deladon and Emma Missman, so I know what the hell I'm talking about. Um, I didn't like her last year. I didn't. I thought visually, I don't care what the numbers say, visually, she was god awful next to the Sabrina Ionescu. God awful. They did not complement each other well. Natasha Cloud had a bad year. That whole New York year was bad last year, so I will give her some grace with that. Um, but in the past, she was a very skilled scorer. She was a very highly regarded defender. And I thought both those things were awful last year. Awful in the WNBA. And then she goes to Unrivaled, bottom right of your screen on the Phantom. I'm a Phantom fan. I like the Phantom. Kelsey Plum, Aaliyah Boston, Kiki Arifin, Natasha Cloud. And I thought, I'm going to give Natasha Cloud a chance. I'm not going to judge her too harshly because that was the WNBA season. Maybe she can come into this Unrivaled season and play better. Ladies and gentlemen, it was not better. It was not. I watched every Phantom game. There was maybe 8, 10 times defensively that I was like, whoa, there's Natasha Cloud. And even less times offensively, I was like, whoa, there's Natasha Cloud. She did not look great. And even though those two things left a bad taste in my mouth, I really wanted Natasha Cloud to go somewhere good in free agency. And I had a whole free agency video that I said unrealistic free agency signings for every team. And I had Natasha Cloud going to the LA Sparks because I thought her and Kelsey Plum in Unrivaled was halfway decent. I thought her and Kelsey Plum in the WNBA with the Sparks would be even better because Natasha Cloud could cover up some of Kelsey Plum's defensive deficiencies. And I had really high hopes for her, even though she left a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, it's just one year. People have bad years, right? And then WNBA free agency starts. No news on Natasha Cloud. A couple more weeks go by. Still no news. Tons of people have been signed. Players are signing $1 million contracts now, right? Still no Natasha Cloud news. And then we start hearing people start asking questions, and then we start hearing rumblings, and then rumors and hearsay starts to happen. So I want to make very obvious that a lot of the stuff that's being said, unless I say it's from Natasha Cloud, is hearsay. It's we don't know the facts, and this is my opinion. And again, if you don't want to hear my opinion and you don't value my opinion, or like you don't want to hear a man talk about a woman's business or whatever the case may be, right? Please click off the video. But if you're interested in a nuanced conversation about Natasha Cloud, and an honest conversation, because a lot of people aren't being honest about Natasha Cloud, please stay, like the video, and now let's continue. Um, she doesn't have a job, and we're going on almost a month now, I think, of WNBA free agency. And what happened in that month was, as these things start to leak out, as rumors start, we get confirmation that Natasha Cloud has switched agents mid free agency, switched her agent that represents her. Um, Supposedly, she wasn't getting the money she wanted. Her agent wasn't getting the money that Natasha Cloud wanted. Natasha Cloud wanted $1 million deal. So do all of us, Natasha. So do all of us. I want to play basketball for $1 million. The difference between me and Natasha actually has the skill, or at least had the skill. Um, so she switched agents. She switched agents, right? And this is doubling back, but supposedly she has switched agents more than once now at this point. So this was only like the first or second time. Um, Supposedly she didn't get the money she wanted, had to switch. She's still not getting that money, and now that free agency has lingered and gone on and on and on, and we're a week away from opening day, opening weekend. The money's dried up. The money is dried up, and the thing is, Natasha Cloud, and this is my opinion. I'm just giving my opinion now. The thing is, Natasha Cloud might not be able to get that money. That money might not be out there anymore. And I, to my knowledge, the biggest thing that Natasha Cloud wanted was to be on a competitive team and be on $1 million deal. You have to sacrifice one of those things. You have to sacrifice one of those things. You're not going to be on a good team and get $1 million deal. You're just not. And the other thing about Natasha Cloud is she's made a lot of enemies in the WNBA. Most notably in her last stops in Washington. She didn't want to be in Washington anymore. She had some friction with the front office. That front office is still in place in Washington. So they both don't like each other, supposedly, right? This is all hearsay. In Phoenix, same thing. They both don't like each other, apparently. Um, I'm not sure Washington has money. I know Phoenix has money. Natasha Cloud might have to go crawling back to Phoenix if she wants that money. And then New York. New York made it very obvious early on, even before free agency, that they weren't going to bring her back. Even at the end of last year, at the end game press conference, the GM was like, "Yeah, we're probably not going to bring her back." He didn't. The GM didn't like Natasha and Sabrina in the backcourt, like many of us fans did. Like I didn't like it. I hated it, as a matter of fact, and I was happy that they weren't going to bring her back. Not because I dislike Natasha Cloud, but because it did not work for Sabrina. And you know who the franchise cornerstone is? It's not Natasha Cloud. It's not Breanna Stewart, even though she's a really great player. It's the player that's been there the longest and has brought this Liberty team to relevancy in Sabrina Ionescu. So the GM made the right decision to say, hey, Natasha Cloud, thank you for your service. Thank you for everything that you brought to New York, to Brooklyn. Please exit the door. Thank you. And she left. And then now we're here. Now, let's add more context to this. As these rumors and things start flying and as things start getting said, you know, sometimes players get tired of that stuff and they're like, I have to speak my truth. I have to right this ship. I have to get my side of the story out there. Natasha Cloud did not do that initially. It was her partner, I believe, who refuted Annie Costabelez, who's a very notable WNBA reporter. I love her. She's a great reporter, does a lot of great stuff. Shout out her. Shout out Annie. Isabel Harrison refuted the report that Annie put out. And Annie said, numerous teams have expressed interest in Natasha Cloud. Multiple teams who work in the league have neglected social media rumors that Cloud is being blackballed for her activism. Isabel Harrison said this isn't true. To add a bit more context, Natasha Cloud, very outspoken person, missed the 2020 WNBA bubble for social justice reasons, right? Did not play. Notable, very, very noble cause, whatever, right? I'm going to give my thoughts on Natasha Cloud's off the court stuff right now because I think it's very important and provide context to what Natasha Cloud's going to say when she comes out with her stuff that she's going to say. Natasha Cloud is very outspoken about a lot of things, whether it be political, social justice, LGBTQ plus stuff, whatever, right? She strikes me as, this is no offense, and this is gonna sound very harsh. Please brace yourself. It's gonna sound very harsh. She strikes me as a person that doesn't shut up. And by no means am I saying shut up and dribble. I would never say that about an athlete. I would never say that ever, because that's not the world we live in anymore. These athletes have platforms. These athletes make millions of dollars. If the athlete is going to make millions of dollars and do the right thing with their money and do the right thing with their platform, I commend you, because a lot of athletes don't do that. A lot of athletes are very self-centered. They'll worry about themselves. They don't worry about the people around them or the people that are just in their orbit, like just in life, and their fellow man and their fellow woman and their fellow whatever, they, them, whatever, right? Natasha Cloud strikes me as somebody who doesn't shut up. And at times in life and in business, even though you might be doing the right thing and you might be the leader of a great cause, to get paid, you just got to shut up. And I'll say this: billionaires, they don't like when their workers, we'll put it that way, right, are messing up their money. A team cannot risk Natasha Cloud being on their team and doing something. I don't think Natasha Cloud has ever gone AWOL. I'm not saying that. But risk my money, my brand, my $1 billion WNBA franchise, because we all know those franchises are going up. The evaluations for WNBA franchises are going up. I can't risk you messing up my business, right? So that's one thing, right? But the other thing is when you are a person who wants to do the right thing and always wants to be proactive in their activism, you can fall into a lot of traps. You can fall into a lot of conspiracy theory, and you can fall into a lot of maybe interesting disagreements with the average person that, you know, isn't, I'm going to use the word woke. I hate that word. Please, 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 please. I hate that word. The average person that isn't woke enough. And Natasha Cloud is very woke. And in her wokeness, I hate that word again, but I'm going to say it. She's fallen into some pitfalls, especially recently. She posted something on her story. Apparently, Natasha Cloud is anti. I'm not even sure I can say this, but she's anti VAX. If you catch my drift, no big shot. You know what I mean. That did not make a lot of WNBA fans happy, and a lot of people felt disappointed by that. And if that's just the tip of the iceberg for Natasha Cloud, who knows what else she believes in? And I think Natasha Cloud is very reminiscent of an NBA comparison, which is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving believes in a lot of interesting things, and I like Kyrie as a player and as a person. I think over time he has admitted that he's made some mistakes and he has matured. Natasha Cloud, at big old age of 34, I'm sorry to inform her. I'm sorry to inform fans of Natasha Cloud that she hasn't matured, and it's not. And again, like Annie said in her article, it's not that she's getting blackballed because of political beliefs. She's getting blackballed because of some of the stuff she believes in. Not politically, but just some like oddball, like, I can't have you on my team saying that. And there's some other stuff is why she's being not on the team right now. Not on a team right now. We'll get to that in a second. But um, yeah, let me get into the other stuff that Natasha Cloud said before I get into my other tangent here. It was reported or said later on. This was literally 42 hours ago, maybe 24 hours ago, that the Daily W Sports had a conversation. It was two, let's call them podcast hosts, people like me who just sit online and talk all day, and talk about games, talk about everything. They were debating or just talking about the Natasha Cloud situation. They were giving their nuanced opinions about it. And this circulated on Reddit, on Twitter, on Instagram, and people had their thoughts. And it finally came across Natasha Cloud's desk, finally. And this is from her on Threads, tcloud__9. This is false. Again, I haven't spoken. I never gave a number, not once in the last 3.5 weeks. Also, was not once asked what my number was. I'll speak when I'm ready. That's from Natasha Cloud herself. That's from her official, it has the checkmark next to it, Threads account. So Natasha Cloud is disputing all this stuff, right? And that's her right to dispute this stuff. And I'm not saying, man, this is gonna sound like crazy, but I'm not saying she's a liar. I'm just saying she's not a truther, perhaps. Um, there is no way she has never said a number. There is no way she has never said a number in these conversations, because there's obviously some resentment within WNBA circles, especially player circles and media circles as well, that some players that get these $1 million deals probably aren't worthy of the $1 million, but they're getting it because it's an expansion team, it's a team that's rebuilding, it's this, it's that, right? Or in the very interesting cases of like teams that are actually competitive that can afford close to $3 to $4 million contracts, you know, it's those are the differences, and I'll be quite honest, you know. If This is very human of anybody. If your friend is if your friend's friend, let's put it that way, right, is making $1 million, right, and you only get offered $400,000, you're gonna feel sort of a type of way because you're like, that guy, I barely know that guy, but that guy's not worth that much money. You would feel a certain way. I think, to be honest, maybe Natasha Cloud feels this sort of way. Maybe other players feel a certain way, but they're never gonna say that because they're gonna be happy for their sisters and be happy for their coworkers, right? The other thing, the big thing that the missing piece that I've been not hesitant, I've waited to say is that um, Natasha Cloud, in her second unrivaled stint this past winter, right, bottom right of your screen, playing for my fandom. I remember this very vividly. This is before the CBA was done. This is before everything was done. This is when players were sort of like going at the WNBA and the WNBA commissioner and sometimes the owners. And Natasha Cloud, again, very active, very, loud, and, wants her opinion out there. Congrats to her. Went on a bit of a rant. I forget when this was exactly, but it was during the Unrivaled season. And she said a bunch of things about the WNBA, Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner, and the owners. And it comes to my attention that perhaps maybe the owners didn't like that. And I'm no fan of a billionaire. Nobody likes billionaires, right? Who needs to be a billionaire, right? We all hate billionaires. Can I get an amen? Amen. Yeah, we all hate billionaires, right? There's no reason there should ever be a billionaire, right? That's neither here nor there. That's a whole nother conversation. Um, Billionaires already have fragile egos, right? They have their way they do things. They're a billionaire for a reason, right? They're either I'll say this respectfully. If you're a billionaire, there's something wrong with you. There's some determination at some point in your life that you got to that point to be a billionaire. There's something innovative that you did. There's something interesting that you did with your life that you became a billionaire. You worked hard to be a billionaire. Maybe there's a couple nepotism billionaires in there. I don't know if there's ever been a nepotism billionaire. I don't know, but perhaps there is. But a lot of the billionaires at some point in their life worked very hard. And when you insult anybody and when you insult them, people don't forget that stuff. And I think the piece that is missing here is that people don't forget. And I'm going to use a very real life example, right? Say you're a house painter, right? And you go on LinkedIn and you just had it one day, right? You're out of a job, right? You can't find a job and you're like, you know what? I hate this house painting stuff. You post on LinkedIn, I hate every house painter. I hate everybody. I hate construction companies. I hate all these people, right? And then a couple weeks later, a couple months later, you're looking for a house painting job again. And nobody wants to hire you. You know why? Because you said, I hate all house painters. I hate these people. These people are whatever, this, that, and the third, right? And you're sitting there and you're wondering, why can't I get a job? Why can't I find somebody's house to paint? Why won't anybody hire me? It's because you talk shit about them. And I know some people are going to say probably that's immature. People who own teams shouldn't be able to do that, whatever, whatever. It's a very human thing, though. And as much as we have to remember that these athletes are human as well, you have to remember these billionaires are humans too, and they feel the same emotions we feel. And maybe their business acumen also plays a part in this, where they're like, well, all these other things that's listed in this 19-minute video are already wrong with Natasha Cloud. Or not wrong, but we don't want with Natasha Cloud. The last domino to fall was her talking shit about the owners. And the owners sign off on everything. They sign off on checks. They sign off on everybody's check, from the GM to the coach, to the players, to the equipment guys, to the towel guys, to the guys who wipe the floors during the games. They sign off on everything. If you talk shit about them, your career might be over. And I don't think Natasha Cloud's career is over. I really don't. I think she's 34. She probably has like 2, 3 more years left and whatever. But I think in all this and in all this talking, right, and me rambling and all that stuff, I think what's best for Natasha Cloud, personally, I think you need to take a sabbatical year. I know you're 34. I know it's probably not what you want to hear. I think a sabbatical year is for the best because there's obviously something that's going on in the background and whatever. Maybe I think she should take a sabbatical year. I think best case scenario, she gets on a team because a team has an injury. They bring her in on a low offer, a minimum deal. She proves herself, and then next year she's back with the big contract that she wanted this past year, right? I think that's the best case scenario. In my thought process, I think you need to take a sabbatical year, and I think your mind is not in the right headspace. I think Natasha Cloud is a very wonderful person, and I think what she does is great. And what she has done in the past is great. And what she stands up for is great. I think when you are that type of person, though, you are a little kooky. You are a little like off the wall a little bit. And that may rub people the wrong way. It doesn't rub me the wrong way. I don't care what you believe. As long as you like play basketball well, I would have her on my team personally. You know, if I owned a team, I'd be like, I don't care that she did all this stuff. I would have her on my team. If she's gonna ball out for me, I'll sign that check happily, and she can be on my team. But as business goes, and I've always said this, big business always wins. It always wins, and it's the nature of the beast, you know? If the league decides you're not good for their image and owners decide you're not good for our organization, you just won't have a team. And for as much as Natasha Cloud has done in her career, and as much as last year was kind of left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, she's a good player. I think she has some good basketball left in her. But I think she's gone too far in the deep end, and she hasn't been able to find that healthy medium for herself in the activism and also being a player. The league is changing underneath you. It's about business now. The players made it about business. The owners made it about business. The commissioner made it about business. You don't get $1 million deals. You don't get guaranteed TV contracts with people that are AWOL, that people that are, you know, I'll use the word conspiracy theorists, that people, even though some of the things they believe in might be noble and might be the right thing to believe in, there are some things that maybe you have to be careful about posting, or maybe be careful about saying, or maybe be careful about talking about a certain person. Because at some point, you know, and going back to Kyrie learned that I can believe these things. I can try to tell people what I believe, and maybe I can get them to believe in it too. But at the end of the day, I have to kind of keep my mouth shut a little bit when it's time to get paid. And then once I get paid, I can go back and be a little, you know, what do you call it? Eccentric. Be a little, there's another word for it, but be a little eccentric, you know, be a little, believe in different things than the average person. Natasha Cloud made the mistake of doing all that stuff when she didn't have a guaranteed job. And then when you don't have a guaranteed job and you say all these things and you do all these things, you might be out of a job at the end of the day. And that's where Natasha Cloud is right now. I am pre-recording this, so if something's changed, you guys will never see this video. But if nothing has changed, she still doesn't have a job. And I do feel for Natasha Cloud. I think teammates love her. I think she has a lot of fans, and I think her fans will obviously miss her. And I think the WNBA again is shifting right under her. And I think players like Natasha Cloud, how very few of them they are, won't be long in the WNBA because it's about business now. It's about making money, and it's not necessarily 2020 anymore. It's not necessarily, you know, the years of past where you guys could just where you were like a niche league that only a couple people watched, and you could be very active in whatever you wanted to be active in, and people would pat you on the back and say, "Good job, you're doing the right thing for this group, for that group, for these people, for that people." You gotta tread carefully on these things because you want it to be $1 billion business because that's what makes the league go round. Money makes the league go round, and you know Natasha Cloud is out of a job, and yeah, it's a bit of a different video. There's a lot of opinions, a lot of stuff like that. I hope this didn't come off too harsh. I didn't want it to come off too harsh. I wanted to give you guys something different and something interesting because I have sort of alluded to this fact that like I don't like Natasha Cloud. It's not that I don't like her, but that like I understand from everybody's perspective what's happening, because I've been a fan for 10 years of this league and I've watched Natasha Cloud literally from when she won the championship up until now. And she's a very wonderful person. Just like just one on one, she's a wonderful person. She's funny, she's whatever, right? Very, very cool person. But like those people, as much as they're good for locker rooms, as much as they're good for like, you know, oh, this is my teammate, it's not great when you're trying to run a business, and I kind of understand it from that perspective. And I said that who did I say this about? I said about another player. I forget. This was a long time ago. I forget who it was, but I was like, I hope they don't go out like this. They don't. Oh, I was talking about Russell Westbrook. I was like, yeah, they don't deserve to go out like this when he didn't have a job. I was like, he doesn't deserve to just be forgotten and be like this figure that was really good for a couple years and then had got a bad rep and then was out of the league for whatever reason. I don't think Natasha Cloud deserves this, to be quite honest. I think she deserves one more shot. Be a good citizen. Just you know, just be a good citizen is what I always like to say, about players is if you can be a good citizen, play basketball, maybe do a little bit of activism, in line with what the WNBA is aligned with, you can keep a job for the next couple of years. But to be brutally honest, at 34, any year off, any extended period of time off is not going to be good for her. And to end this video, I wish her nothing but the best. I really do. When Natasha Cloud's right and she plays really good basketball, she's a really great player, and I wish her nothing but the best. If you watched to the end, thank you so much. The end screen should be popping up right now. Check out the video on the left. The video on the left. It's my top 50 players going into next season for the WNBA. Check that out. Check out my women's basketball hoops playlist on the right. If you click my little icon right in the middle, a little subscribe button will pop up right next to you. You can hit that and you can subscribe with ease to keep up with the Natasha Cloud news, the rest of the WNBA regular season that's coming up, and the NBA playoffs. Also, like and comment. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.